is known as Carl Brady, and with me is Giancarlo Panicia, good friend, lifelong gamer. And today we're talking about a few subjects. So we're going to start off about the treasure chest, and I'm going to give Giancarlo the lead on that. You're live, dude. Okay, I think he's
What?
frozen.
No, not you
Oh, okay.
froze. All right, are we back? Okay.
Yeah, we're back.
Treasure cave. Okay. All right. So what happened was Destiny's loot system relies on these on collecting what are called engrams, which are basically um, there are these little bundles of possibility that could be a lot of different things. When you take them into the social area, you take them to this special character, and he decrypts them for you, and they become an item which you can use. Uh, the problem is that the probabilities of what these items turned into were really crappy, and it was very, very difficult to actually get anything interesting. Um, you play a game like Tim Buckley who does Control Alt Delete, did a really interesting little comic where he shows an hour playing Diablo 3 and this female demon hunter is surrounded by loot.
Yeah.
An hour playing Borderlands 2 and you have Zero, the cyber ninja, surrounded by loot, just in a sea of it up to his waist. And then you have 1 hour playing in Destiny, and you have this sad little warlock holding this one little engram, and it will probably be like nothing he needs. It's become a bit of a troll, a bit of an internet meme in and of itself. So as with any MMO, there's going to be areas of exploitation. Gamers will find these tricks to get around the system, and they found this one cave in a public area that if you stand in a specific place and you just shoot into the cave, you're continually killing enemies, and then after an hour of that, you are actually surrounded by loot, and it's all right. It wasn't great. You're not coming out with the best stuff. At best, you're probably coming out with one after maybe 4 or 5 hours of this extremely boring activity. You come out with a handful of legendary engrams, which will probably not be legendary items, and a bunch of other stuff that you're just going to break down for their components. It was a futile process, but it was still an exploit. What I like about Bungie's response was that they patched it out, which any MMO designer will do. But what they basically said was, look, you're doing something, they noted it very clearly, you're doing something incredibly boring because you feel that you're not getting what you want out of this game. So we're going to rethink how the loot probabilities, the engram probabilities, and we're going to rebalance the whole thing. And the beginning of that just went into play late yesterday, and I already got another piece of legendary gear, which was really cool. It doesn't shorten the game; it just makes it a lot more rewarding, because people were getting kind of ticked about it. There were probably some people who left the game thinking, well, this is boring as shit, so I'm going to go play something else now. I don't know what else they would be playing at this point, but it's a nebulous thing. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that would just say, no, this isn't the way you're supposed to play the game. We're going to patch it. Screw you. Play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And they're completely within their right to do that sort of thing, but there's a much more fulfilling response for the developer who put more than half a decade into this game, and the player who made this probably most likely one of the best selling games of this year or the past few years. So so good on Bungie. I'm sweating balls right now. Sorry.
Out of the blue.
Yeah, I got sweat literally getting into my eyes.
Like, what are you
Um,
doing, man?
right? No, we're just in the middle of a heat wave, which
Oh,
is weird
oh,
because it's the
heat
end
wave,
of September.
Toronto
Yeah,
heat
it's.
wave.
I think they call it an Indian summer.
No, that's in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Chinook, by the way.
A Chinook.
Yeah,
Right.
here is Chinook.
No, I'm a hoser. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the story. I mean, a lot of people would have been pissed otherwise, but probably still played the game. I was still playing the game. I didn't spend too much time at the treasure cave. Um, I just wanted to see what it was, what all the hype was about. But
Mm.
yeah, and there's already another cave. Somebody's already found it. Found another one, and that they'll exploit, and then that'll get patched out. The way they're patching these out is they're decreasing the amount of enemies that come out of them via timers, which makes the whole endeavor entirely unprofitable and even more boring. And they're including these things called incursions, which are enemies like higher level enemies will just swarm the area after a few minutes. So people who are sort of AFK, um, who are away from their game, from the game right now, because this is the weird part. You could be in the area, shoot a few times into that cave, and then walk away. And other people are shooting in there, but you are still involved in the activity via this cloudy, nebulous thing that they've set up as far as social areas and how this game works. So you're still getting loot, but you're taking a bio, which is outside having a smoke or something, which is
Yeah,
weird. You know,
happens to me. Yeah.
yeah. So that was weird. But yeah, I mean, Bungie will continually patch out these things and continually try and fix the loot system that until people are happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you and I were doing that live stream and you were getting like loot like crazy, and every time I get like nothing, like the dreaded green. That's what I got.
That's one of the things that they're looking to fix. They're look because having more of a merit-based reward system instead of just pure chance is I mean, that's not just press button for bacon. It's there's got to be
Go kill
equations and
an egg and
everything.
get bacon.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of programming that goes into that, a lot of rethinking. So
Mm.
it's not going to happen right off the bat. But they're saying that the rebalancing of the whole loot system is going to be satisfying, but it will take months. And it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm still playing the game. People are still playing the game, and it'll be done in stages. So it's not just like hold on for months because nothing's going to happen. There's like a patch almost every week at this point where they tweak things, and it's not the only thing
Yeah.
they're tweaking too. They're rebalancing certain weapons. Um, which I think are wholly good ideas because right
I
now.
noticed my gun got nerfed in multiplayer
Oh
and
yeah,
Crucible. Yeah, I got nerfed hardcore.
what were you using?
It was like a high rate of fire machine gun,
Right.
and oh man, I murked with that. Like it does about 220 damage.
Oh, you mean the auto rifle? Oh, yeah, auto
Oh yeah.
rifles. Auto rifles are getting are going to get tweaked to because they do. They're a little bit too effective in the Crucible. They're a bit, the spray and pray is a viable option, but it's a
It's a tactic.
little. Yes, but it's too advantageous at this point. So
Yeah.
you don't end up using things like pulse rifles, unless you have a really sick pulse rifle, you know. So, um, so yeah, they're adjusting that. They're adjusting the. I think they said they're adjusting the range on. They're adjusting the range on scout rifles, shotguns, things like that. It's all good.
The
I
scout
mean,
should be a little shorter, and the shotgun should be just a tad longer.
actually, it's going to be the other way around.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, the scout rifle is supposed to be a medium to long range weapon, so it's actually going to be it's the area of effectiveness is going to be a little wider because right now it's great as a long range weapon, but
Mm.
if you're anywhere near what would be considered mid range, God's help you if you miss, because you're,
Oh,
you know. But shotguns have, you know what? To be perfectly honest, their range is a little crazy, and in certain areas, especially in Crucible, it was kind of breaking. You know, like I would certainly prefer to use a fusion rifle in those areas, and I think people should be using fusion rifles. But shotguns, especially certain shotguns, just had crazy range. So
yeah.
you know, it didn't. I don't think it worked very well.
Well,
I don't. Yeah.
some of the upgrades for the shotguns were like choke systems, kind of like in Battlefield, where it increases the range but it lessens the spread.
Right, but what you're going to see is not only their range is going to be decreased, but their damage is going to be brought up as well, because they're
Okay, so it's
basically.
going to balance somehow.
Yeah, I mean, there was also points where I'm right beside somebody and I miss with a shotgun. You shouldn't have to really aim with a shotgun if they're right next to you, and I'm not that shitty, you
Come on, a
know.
shotgun's a marksman's weapon. What are you talking about?
Yeah, in real life, there's a difference. Blam!
Uh,
Everything over here is no longer a problem.
mm.
All right.
Where's the
Anyway,
building now?
yeah, right.
Okay,
So,
so moving on.
yeah,
Uh, so are we going in for a gamer crash? Market crash, sorry. It's been buzzing around. I saw it on Kotaku. A couple big gamer YouTubers have been talking about it. How the market is similar to what it was in the 1980s when the market almost disappeared overnight.
right.
What I see nowadays, though, is something very different, a very different type of market. At that point in time in 1982, I believe it was, what happened
Yeah,
was one company had a major share of the entire industry. Now we got about 3 to 4 companies, maybe possibly even five if you count publishers, uh, that have the market share. So there is competition. There is trying to get buying power, and plus the community is a lot bigger. What do you
I,
think, G's?
I would say that there is, as far as major names in the industry that could really move and shake how things are made, bought, sold. Um, I would say there's actually quite a few more than three or four. I'd say there's a dozen, maybe more.
Well, I'm
Um,
talking about big ones like your Nintendo, your
yeah,
EA, your Blizzard not BioWare, Blizzard Activision, Xbox, Sony.
right. Microsoft, Sony. You also have companies like Steam.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can't
You
forget
know,
Steam. Steam,
you know.
yeah.
But even yes, they control the majority of the market share because they control the majority of the wealth. What I see, however, I mean the world is so much different as far as access to technology and access to the ability to be creative with it than it was in 1982, which was the year before I was born, mind you. Um,
Mm.
so you know, I'm speaking as a not somebody who lived through the last crash, but a bit of a historian on it. There's there's really no reason to expect that these companies should suddenly go under in a chain reaction. I mean, we're not dealing with real estate where people are being handed out subprime mortgages, you know,
Yeah.
and companies are the Blizzard Activision is not putting massive amounts of money on the market betting against you, negging on a game payment. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It does not make any sense. Most of this worry is based off of two things: on a mostly American fear of large companies controlling vast majorities of a market, with not much oversight, uh, and no, that's pretty much it.
Well,
It really comes. Oh, I mean, yeah, no, it comes down to that because people are still afraid, and I would say the vast majority of people don't understand why the market crash of 2011, sorry, 2011,
1982.
2008, 2008,
Oh,
the market crash of 2008, why that actually happened. People don't understand it. They just know that big companies that were supposed to be too big to fail failed,
fail.
and everybody died, and everybody lost all their shit.
Yeah.
And then they think, well, what other big organizations, big commodities, big markets have crashed in the past? What if that's going to happen again? It's a bit of a sensationalist story.
Yeah.
But the difference is that we're not dealing with something where people have to make payments. I mean, the only exception would be MMOs, and I mean the freemium tends to be the way most companies go, and B, it's actually turning into a bit more of a profitable situation for companies. There's not a lot of companies that still stick with a monthly subscription. Blizzard Activision does WoW. CCP does EVE Online, and that's really it as far as monthlies. As far off the top of my head, at least, everything else is like you pay for it and you have it. You know, that's it. There's also, as I was saying before, to loop back around to my first point, there's a lot more developers out there that are like you and me, that are just in front of a computer making something to put out there. There's so many ways for them to make it, so many ways for them to put it out there, so many ways for them to get it paid for, so many ways to profit from it, that it really makes no sense that that an entire industry would collapse. These large companies own market share, own the vastness of this market share, because they've played the financial game, and whenever they can, they've bought companies that were up and coming and brought them into their fold. So they're very much umbrella organizations. These are not all eggs in one basket sort of thing. I mean, you've seen EA shut down non-competitive development houses and do their best to reshuffle talent into other projects. You know, Activision does the same thing as well. These companies are multifaceted and have the ability to adapt to a very an industry that has razor thin profit margins. I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but to be honest, they don't make a hell of a lot of money. Not compared to other large financial institutions like banks, mortgages, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Are we headed for another gamer crash? No. We are, I believe, headed for a slight readjustment. I think you're going to see a lot of redistribution of wealth in the industry, bringing it down to the to more indie developers. They're taking more of the market share. There's more and more of them every day. People are being a lot more entrepreneurial in their endeavors. They're not just saying, "I want to work for BioWare." No, it doesn't work like that anymore.
I got an idea. I'm gonna make a game.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you jump on Kickstarter, or you get a loan, or you max out all your credit cards and hope for the best.
You sell strangers' organs. You do whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't see a crash happening.
Yeah.
But I do see the AAA houses with their $500 million per game budgets having a harder and harder time keeping people interested. I mean, it's going to be hard.
Well, going to that point, people thought back when we were doing Complete Geek Radio and we had that show about indie games, people thought mobile games were going to start cutting into AAA.
Everybody thinks that the new thing is going to cut in and cut down the big man, because everybody likes an underdog story, right? It's a Cinderella story. It's one of those two things, or both. I don't know. I'm mixing my metaphors, but anyway, I mean, they didn't cut into the mass gamer market. They expanded the market into people who weren't normally gamers, and they
Mm.
said, "Here's something on your, on your phone, which you already have with you, that you can play on your free time instead of going out for a smoke
Or
or
on the
reading,
job.
or yeah, reading a book on the mass transit or whatever. You can play." You can play Flappy Bird or Jetpack Joyride or Infinity Blade. I mean,
Or
Infinity
Friday
Blade,
at Freddy's.
yeah, or you know, I mean, and there are big companies that have come down. I don't want to say come down, that have transitioned to that level because while they couldn't make it on a console, they're they had enormous, like Chair. Chair is a subsidiary of the Unreal Engine. Wow, I'm suddenly blanking.
Is that Ed?
No, no, no.
No, no, that's Epic.
Guys who make Gears of War. Oh my goodness.
Wow, we're slipping. It's not 3D.
Yeah, the guys who made the Unreal Engine. Cliff
Wow.
Blazinski. Damn it. Uh, this is horrible. This is really embarrassing. Anyway, point
Yeah.
is, they they're a side company. Chair is a side company, and they made a graphically intensive touchscreen game for the iPhone. It was an iPhone exclusive at that point. Came to the iPad, and then I saw it. I saw it in a few months ago in an arcade, like a massive screen.
Yeah.
Uh, an Infinity Blade is a great freaking game. It looks fantastic, plays fantastic. It's so much fun,
Mm.
and you can have it anywhere. And you can be playing. You can be playing JRPG ports or original JRPGs. You could be playing racing games and shooting games and things. And I'm first to admit that touch screens are not suitable for certain genres of game where you want a mouse and keyboard or you want a console controller. But there are some types of games that work exceptionally well on a touch interface.
Mm.
That So it's an enormous market. It's a casual gaming market that didn't really exist, had no outlet. Suddenly, all of these companies, all of these indie developers come out of nowhere, and it's a gold rush. It's an enormous rush to all these people's pockets, and it
Mm.
worked. You know?
It did. Well, look at the first Angry Birds. Wasn't it like 99 cents?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, and look how much money that made. That was like a top grossing game compared to like even up against AAA.
yeah. I mean, people spend a lot of money in small amounts on their phone. You know what the highest grossing, as far as like money going through an app. You know what the highest grossing app is
No.
in the entire world? The Starbucks app.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, I know. People buy,
It's a lot of pumpkin spice.
yeah, a lot of pumpkin spice lattes, but people have this thing in their pocket and are very happy to spend 99 cents at a time or a buck 29 at a time and buy things like ringtones or whatnot. And then this company, like a bunch of people come along and say, well, here's a free game, and if you want stuff in the game, like cool stuff, you can have, 99 cents. There you go.
Mm.
Hearthstone. I mean, Blizzard Activision made a card game for mobile devices, and it works. It's a huge
Mm.
game,
I have
you
that on
know?
my Mac, yeah.
Yeah. You know, so there's the industry is growing, it's changing, it's evolving. I don't, and every year we see the wealth distributed much more evenly than it used to be. I mean, you go back 10 years, and yeah, maybe in certain circumstances I'm boring the cat. Maybe in certain circumstances the industry might have been in danger of a crash.
Yeah.
Not anymore. There's no way. There's too many players, too many people creating content, Too many
Mm.
people who if a large company did for some reason go under, let's say EA suddenly next month or tomorrow suddenly for some reason declares bankruptcy.
I jump for joy.
Oh, okay, but they're not an evil company. Just don't do that.
No, well, okay, they're not an evil company, but a couple times they've been voted worst company.
It's bullshit though. It's people who actually don't work
Yeah,
for the company doing that.
yeah.
That's a whole story. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
You know
I
what?
wish.
I'm a little butthurt because of something they did with the next gen. When Battlefield came over, it didn't work. It was broken, and a lot of people paid $100 for it, $110,
Sim
and it was
yeah, the
yeah.
last Sim City was absolutely freaking broken for no good reason,
Yeah.
and they just never fit. I mean, EA is not a great company. They don't make great products, but they keep a lot of people employed. Now, those people are what I'm about to talk about. Let's say EA suddenly says we're shutting her down. Scandal. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Let's just say that happens. The very next day, you're going to see 50 different new game companies pop up because all of those people in that company are friends with people in that company, developers and and quality assurance and editors and writers and artists and everything. They all have their own little cliques, and a dev company that suddenly finds themselves outside of EA are gonna go, well, let's just keep doing what we're doing. Let's make our own shit. We used to. Then EA bought us and gave us a
Yeah.
shitload of money, and that was good for a time. But let's go back to just doing our thing. Just because these companies, just because a company like uh, I'm gonna say BioWare, but BioWare isn't actually owned by EA. It's weird. Um, if EA goes away, BioWare still exists. You know, a lot of these companies will still exist regardless of these huge umbrella corporations
Mm.
feeding them money and putting in in all these marketing dollars. I mean, shit, I can't imagine what would happen on Steam the few months after that, the few years after that. You'd see all of these companies just say, we're going to put our stuff out there. We're going to make our own stuff. There's no reason to rest on our laurels or say, well, I'm going to become a janitor. No, they're game developers. They'll always develop
Yeah.
games, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is sorry, double talking. Amazon buys Twitch for like almost $2 billion. All right, and Twitch, their whole thing is gaming.
Yep.
So I think that's a perfect partnership because what's Amazon? It's one of the biggest retailers in the world. And what's one of the things they retail? Video games.
Yep.
Yeah. So you have these companies from outside the fray that have sort of a loose uh, attachment. Like Google was trying to do it because people do stream on YouTube. I cover videos on YouTube about gaming. So right now, six of the top 10 people on YouTube are gamers. Like PewDiePie has crazy subscribers. He's the top of YouTube, and he does gaming on his channel.
Right.
So Twitch would be a good buy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were, big company buying a slightly less big company. Whatever shall we do? I think that it was a great decision on both of their parts to have that happen.
Mm,
Um, Also, I think Notch selling Mojang to Microsoft.
very good point. Very
I
good point.
mean, to be perfectly like I have my boss runs a Minecraft server. He's huge into the game. I even bought him a Minecraft pick bottle opener, a metal one. It was really nice.
I got one of
Um,
those in Loot Crate once.
there you go. So what happened? So I tell him this, and he's like, "That's it. I'm done playing it. I don't touch anything that's Microsoft." I'm like, "You use Windows all the time." He's like, "Yeah, but that's different." No, it's not different. You You use their products, and there's absolutely no reason to believe that Microsoft would do anything to rock the boat when it comes to Minecraft or anything else that Mojang is putting together. Go ahead. No, please.
Okay, so this you just gave me a good segue into the next thing. So speaking of Microsoft, the next gen consoles are out, and let's start off by a little Microsoft's little defaultful at the E3. They announced the Xbox One. They wanted a always online. You buy digital downloads through digital distribution sources, and people did not like that.
No, for good
And
reason.
so Xbox saw that they didn't like it, and they've changed it. And they had this massive campaign going to like big YouTubers, like Major Nelson went to a huge YouTuber who was very negative about Xbox's product, and he brought a prototype for this guy to try and go, look, they've done the changes.
They have done the changes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why common sense would have dictated that nothing that they announced in 2013 was going to work. I mean, the reality. Okay, you and me, we live in a very connected world. Okay, we live in a place where there's going to be LTE and Wi-Fi and 4G and T1 connections and
Well, most place doesn't have LTE, by the way.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. I keep touching my face because I'm sweating. Oh, jeez. Okay. I need a shower.
It's all the math.
There are a lot of places in even the United States where you're lucky to get an edge signal. You're lucky to get any sort of signal on your phone. You think you're going to be able to play games online? These people don't have the online capability, but they still want to play video games. So that shouldn't be a bad thing. They should be able to pick up a copy of a game at a store and take it home and play it. Simple.
Yeah.
Is it broken? Does it need patching? Well, that's a completely different problem with the industry, and that's another topic entirely. But they should be able to go home and play a working product.
Yeah. Well, look at the PSP Go. How good did that thing do?
My girlfriend had one until it got stolen.
Yeah. But, yeah, it didn't do too well. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Always online cuts out an enormous part of your market because not everybody can be online. And even the 24-hour thing, I mean, and to add extreme insult to what would have been a large injury, I do remember very clearly how Microsoft spokesman basically said to somebody who worked on a nuclear sub, said, I don't have the access to the internet. I want to play video games. What do you suggest that I do? And this is before they backtrack, right? And
was it the same president, Phil Spencer, I think his name is?
Was it Spencer? No, I don't think it was.
Yeah.
But he basically said, we have the perfect system for you. It's called an Xbox 360. And that is an enormous slap in the face to somebody who said, I want to give you hundreds of dollars, and you're telling me no because of me protecting the country, I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
It never made any sense. For the most part, Sony capitalized on the numerous times that Microsoft stuck their foot in their mouth. But I mean, even though the consoles are out and everything is working more or less the way people want it to, there's still a lot of things that for you and me we don't get up here.
Yeah.
A lot of services we do not get up. Like I was just at Hulu. I was just at Just for Laughs, and it's funny because the comics were actually saying, you guys have Netflix, but it's kind of lame Netflix, and it's true. A lot of the things that people in the States get through their gaming systems or other things we don't get up here. Why? I mean,
The
there's
CRTC.
it's the CRTC, which to those who don't know is our governing multimedia body, um, and they expect that um, that in all things that come into this country, Canada be given a bit of a wink wink nudge nudge. So
Here,
10
I'll
percent.
explain. I can
Yeah,
actually.
go for it. I
Okay,
didn't
so
want to get into too much of it, but yeah.
any business that comes up to Canada, like Walmart, when they came up to Canada, they had to buy a Canadian company and it had to be staffed by a certain amount of Canadians. All right. At that time, that was a big thing for Walmart to do because they had the manpower willing to come up here.
Hmm.
But they ended up buying Wilco, and a lot of people from Wilco ended up working there. Just like Target buying most half of the Zellers leases, they
Yeah.
came up. Now with the CRTC, they manage like everything from cell phones and stuff. That's one reason why, if Verizon was considering coming up here last year, which they weren't, they probably would not be able to. Uh, what it means is it has to have a certain amount of Canadian content. Like if you watch American TV channels in from the States, they put Canadian commercials in there.
If you want to be on TV in Canada, if you want to run a channel, you have to have 10% of your content, daily content, has to be Canadian. Whether that's programming, original programming, or commercials, it doesn't matter. It has to be Canadian content. Um, when the Super Bowl comes around, we don't get commercials like everybody else does. We have to go online and watch all those awesome Super Bowl commercials
Yeah.
because we don't get them. They literally cut to a different feed, and we have to watch Rogers and Bell commercials, and it's dumb.
Mm.
Um, Even Netflix right now is having a hard time because the CRTC is trying to pressure them into creating Canadian content, or else, and it's basically an or else situation. And Netflix is basically saying, no, we have no interest in kowtowing to such a protectionist racket. There's nothing in it for us, and it's the internet, stupid. Like, you're literally going to block
The
Netflix.
internet.
Go ahead and try and block Netflix and see how
And it's
well
not
you
going to
do in the
stop us
next
from getting
election.
that content, anyways.
No,
No, it's not
no.
going to stop us one bit. So might as well make some money off it.
All people will do is download things more. That's it. Really, that's it. I mean, Netflix came in at a time where people were downloading an obscene amount of content, not paying for it, and the people who came up with Netflix basically said, we're not producing a product, we're enacting a service.
Yeah.
So with a service-based concept, you make money off of providing access, not providing, here's a show, here's a show, here's a show, watch it as we air it, or else. Or else that's it. You're never going to be able to see it again. It's no, it's a bit ridiculous. Like, there's a lot of different functions, going back to video games. It's a lot of different functions of the
Mm.
PS4 and the Xbox One, and even going back to the PS3 and especially the Xbox
Yeah.
360, where we just never got any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was never available to us. It would have
It was
never
like 4 years
worked.
of Netflix on the Xbox. I believe it
Yeah.
was
What?
the get Netflix on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 4 years to get that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it took a very long time. Um, there's a lot of Netflix right now is has a hard time releasing content to us because of various factors, not the least of which is CRTC. So when people say they see, this thing's on Netflix, that thing's on Netflix, a lot of people employ proxies now because they say, well, I don't care to wait for it to, maybe eventually come to Canadian Netflix. I'm just gonna watch it over there. I'm just gonna watch it on normal Netflix.
Yeah.
You know, and it's absolutely ridiculous in this day and age how we can still have to, how we still have to do such things. I mean, if we can't be competitive, then we shouldn't try and compete. That's just basically it.
Yeah.
Canadian media needs to put up or shut up, and the CRTC needs to stop stepping on consumers, because that's all they do. As far as like things like the other things that CRTC do, like manage spectrum and things like that, I actually do think that they're doing a good job there, and I think that they're being a little bit smarter with how they manage things there. But movies and TV, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say all's well because everything will end well. I would say that, but people don't understand why net neutrality is an important thing to fight for.
In the
So
States, though.
yeah, well, I mean, even here, net neutral. Could you imagine Canadians fighting for net neutrality? It's just it's
Well, okay, so all five parties, all the major parties, have said they would vote against an anti-net neutrality
yeah,
because it'll
good.
affect our commerce crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would. It absolutely would. Things can change. Money can be exchanged, and suddenly people's attitudes change quickly. That's just the way politics is. So there could be a day where if Netflix doesn't abide by what the CRTC wants, you never know. They could actually just block it. It would be a horrible freaking move, and I can't imagine more people being outraged, but yeah, I could definitely see it happening. I could see that, but people would just use proxies anyways. I mean, I can't access the Daily Show website, so I just use a proxy, and then suddenly the internet thinks that I'm in the States. So, all right, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, so
All
that's
right,
about
so I
it.
think we're going to tie it up here.
Yep,
Yeah, you got things to do,
I do.
and like always don't. So, tune in. We'll probably most definitely do this again.
Most definitely.
And thanks for watching. And I'm Cap. I'm out. And this is John Carlo. And say bye, John Carlo.
Stay geeky.
Okay. All right. All right.